friends, welcome back. So I had mentioned in my previous video that I'm going to be changing directions on this channel, and so this is the first set of tutorials basically I'll be doing about data. And so I wanted to start off with basically creating a database from scratch. It's not going to be entirely from scratch because we're going to use data, basically some data sets that already exist, and I'll go through exactly what data I'm using and everything for this project. So basically the first thing when you're thinking about creating a database is basically you need to pick a subject, really. So for my subject, I actually dug into some of my prior projects. A while back ago I created this website, actually a different version, but I updated it for this project a little bit. But basically is that this is going to be like a mock cafe. So we have the Happy Bean. They sell coffees, and they have different things, different offerings and pairings, and then they also have some locations. I'm actually going to create some data for 2 of these locations. We're just going to assume that the data sets that I found is just for this one location, as well as their online e-commerce portion. So it's kind of fun. I actually had fun creating this website, so it's going to be interesting to get like a different feel for it. So let's start off with the data. I'll have basically some links below as to what data I use, but basically it's from Kaggle, and I was able to find some data for a coffee shop, and all of these data sets basically came from, I think they created a lot of these data points, so it's actually kind of interesting. And this particular data set, the coffee shop one, has ingredients, staff, shift, so it's like you go inside of the cafe and you order something. Then I found a different data set, which is, I'll just go ahead and look in here. So I did have a different data set that was more like e-commerce raw data. Let's see if I can find it. I had it up here. Okay, so this is a little bit more, I want to say, not so clean. It's just an Excel spreadsheet. We have some missing values here. So this is kind of representative of kind of the data that you would normally get from other people, or if you're starting from scratch. We have some acronyms. This I can kind of tell is probably light roast, medium roast, dark roast, but I'm not sure what these coffee types are, so I'll have to research what these stand for. And so I thought this would be a really great example of data that you sometimes get that's very clean and very clear, and then data that's not so much so. So that's what I have. All right, so I set up my Jupyter notebook in VS Code, and the reason why I chose VS Code is because it has basically code hints. Like as you're coding, it'll hint at what you're trying to write, and I like that. And plus I have a couple of things that I use for data wrangling, so I prefer to do it in here. And how I have it hooked up is that I have my kernel linking to my Anaconda server. So here's my Anaconda server. It's running in the background. So actually it's Jupyter Lab is running in the background, but basically Anaconda. So I have Anaconda right here. So if you want to follow along, make sure you download Anaconda. You can create and work on your Jupyter notebook inside of here, but again, if I launch this and try to work, it doesn't, again, it has no hints, coding hints. So, and I mean, I will go in there if I want to, but I typically don't like to. I believe Jupyter Lab, there are code hints, if I remember correctly. But again, it doesn't come with some of the stuff that I like in VS Code. So that's how I have it set up. I'll probably do a little snippet on how I did the setup so that you can follow along if you want to. Okay, so here is my notebook to clean my data. I have my here on the CSV files for the coffee shop, and then also the raw data Excel spreadsheet. It only came as Excel spreadsheet, so I'll show you how I bring that in as well. And then I have basically a little table of contents so that I can jump down to certain things when I need to, and I'll show you how I set that up too. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is import our libraries, then we need to import our data, and then we need to look at the data frames and see how we want to set up basically our tables or our entities. Okay, so I'm bringing in pandas here. Run that. So I like to do what do you call it? Shortcuts. I mean, you can definitely run this by hitting the play button, but I typically do Shift Enter, and it will run it. So here I'm going to go ahead and start with ingredients. And actually, let me backtrack here for a moment. So when I look at raw data, even if it's really clean, like the coffee shop data here, what I try to do is try to pick out tables or entities that kind of already have a structure and is self-contained, so that basically there's nothing that it's relying on. For example, orders. If we look at orders, we have order ID, which is to order, so it basically is an ID for order. But then I have this item ID, and it's referencing something I have no idea. Actually, I kind of do, because it's actually, these order numbers are the IDs for these items. And if you look at items, for example, you have its ID, then you have its SKU, which is specific to it, an item name, category, size, and item price. So, you know, you kind of could tell, okay, all of these properties here, attributes, is describing an item, you know, so all these are items, that there's nothing it's referencing outside of this table. And that's what I typically do, is I try to look for entities that are self-contained and don't rely on anything else. For example, if we have recipes, oh gosh, we have its ID, its row ID, which we'll probably delete. I don't think we need that. We have its recipe ID, that's basically describing recipe, but then it relies on, I believe that's ingredient ID. Let's see. Yeah, ingredient ID. ING1, yep. So I won't really work on this particular table just yet. If we look at ingredients, same thing. We have its ID, which is describing itself, its name, weight, mass, measurement, and price. So this is another table I would work first. And then staff is another one I would work first, because it's, again, it's very clear as to all these attributes here are describing a particular entity, and it's not referencing anything else. I would also do the same for shift. Inventory, I would wait, because it's relying on ingredient, and this is the schedule, which relies on shift and the staff IDs. So I would wait for working on these. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, refer back to the email course that I have in the description. It's completely free. Just sign up, and it'll go into more detail as to what I'm describing here, as well as give you better references to read up on it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in my ingredients. I'm doing PD read CSV. I do path to file because when you copy the path here, it's super long. So I just shortened it and did join path. I read to CSV or read CSV. The delimiter is always a comma, that's by default, but I like putting it in there because sometimes you will get CSVs that don't use commas. I've come across that. So if we look at our CSV file, we see it is delimited by commas. And so we will go ahead and put that in. And then Shift Enter. So run it. And then another thing I do is I sometimes work in Data Wrangler. And it does a lot of the info head kind of things, so you can look at the data and what's missing at like a snapshot, which is really nice. And you can also filter too in here. I did not mean to click on that, but if you're wondering what that was right here, it's an extension, I believe that's what it's called, to VS Code. Anyways, off on a tangent. So let's go ahead and look at the first 10 records, and everything looks like it came in all right. And then we're going to hit describe, and this is kind of just to look to kind of see like what is the min value of weight, ingredient weight, what is the max. What's the highest price and the lowest price? Here's the max price and here's the lowest price. And this is going to be helpful for us when we start building out our table structure. So once we start building out our table structure, knowing or seeing these values will be very, very helpful for us. And the next thing to run is info. So info will allow us to look at the data types that data frame inferred. So it's guessing what the data type might be. In this case, it's bringing ID as an object, name as object, weight as integer, which is correct, measurement is an object, and price is float. And if we look at actually our data, we could probably just do text, keep that as integer, the weight is integer, and the measure is text as well. And then we'll look at keys. Now I like doing this because I can literally copy this into my entity phrases from my database. Now this is a data dictionary I created. If you, like I said, if you sign up for the free email course, you'll get this dictionary. And so all you have to do is really paste in, if it'll work for me. Oh my gosh, it is not working, is it? These stuff, it just doesn't behave. So I open up basically just a text editor, like BB Edit, and watch it. Just paste it right in. Okay, so now I have my field names. Now, I call this legacy field names because honestly, I think I'm going to change these names because it's not very clear at a glance at what it is. And so in this dictionary, I need to kind of create some phrases. And what this is going to be is this is the ID of an ingredient. And you're probably asking, okay, why would you just, type in, why would you add that information? There's a reason why, and I'll cover that in a moment. So ID, if we look at our data, let's see, we look at our data, our ID, it's very, we don't have any duplicates. So this is a very unique characteristic or very unique field for each of these items. So we're going to say that this could possibly be or is a logic key. And it's not necessarily a prime key or a primary key, because we might want to change that, especially when you're thinking about going into a database. And this key could actually probably have been created by the manufacturer. I don't know. And so I'm going to call it a logic key. Alright, and then I have entity. Basically it's the name of the entity, which is ingredient. The name that it came in as, which is ingredient. And then that's what it is, what type is it. In this case, my ingredients are things, there's objects, but a type can be an object, a person, a place, an event, or something else I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But it could be, it has to be some type of object at least. So you have to basically describe it. And then the table name that you plan on naming it. I'm actually going to go in here and maybe I'm going to change it to a table name, so it's pretty clear what it is. You can do an underscore because you have that L in the I that looks really similar, and you have to do the parentheses around it. And so you're probably wondering, okay, why are you naming it this? You're repeating it twice. Well, one is the entity that you is what it is in real life, which is an ingredient. This name is the name that was in the file originally. So name, if you look at the file, actually wait, let's see, what was it? What was it named? It's named ingredients. So let's change that. So that we know, okay, that's what it was. They are things or objects, and then the table name that I plan on naming it once I create the database. Okay, hit done. And since let's choose the right one. There we go. Actually, let's delete. So actually, let's go up. Let's go down to this. We'll just do a copy up and a copy down. I'll read the price. Okay, so the next one ingredient is table field. Same with weight. These are just table fields. They're not calculated fields. They're not keys. They could be anything. They can be duplicate. Like if we look at our weights are duplicated, but that's fine because they're not special. Same with our measurements, and sometimes the price is the same thing, you know. It could be the same price but just different things. So they're just table fields that describe a specific ingredient. Okay, and then attribute of entity phrase. So this is the name of an ingredient. I'm just gonna copy that, paste it there. The weight, measurement, and price. And let's, not sure why this copied over weird, but it did. Okay. So you're probably wondering, okay, why are you writing entity phrases like this? So in real life, when you have a project like this, you deal with two sets of people. One, you deal with people who own the actual data, who work with this data day in and day out. They aren't technical. And so this is great for people who are analysts, who are subject matter specialists, like they know this stuff like the back of their hand. Again, they're not technical, so you're trying to get an idea and describing what each of these fields are to them, and this is what you would actually show them. Like, okay, I looked at the data you gave me, and this is kind of how I figured it out. Or this would actually be probably written up in a meeting with, your subject matter, expert, or managers, or whoever is in that department. In this case, it'll probably be the business owner, or someone who handles the orders in the back office. So this is how we would write it out. And then the key type is just kind of like for you, the technical person, to know, okay, well, these are table fields. This could possibly be a primary key or a logic key, and this will help you build out the other things. And then here it's kind of the same thing, where you're looking at, what you want, what it is in real life, and you're kind of creating the link between real life and what it's going to look like in a database. And this is great for more of the technical people, like your DBAs or your software engineers, your web developers would look at something like this on the key type and then the table name, so that they can kind of get an idea as well as to what they're possibly going to build. All right, friends, feel free to go down to the description box and subscribe for this online course, and I'll send you more information about this process. If this video has helped you at all, please give it a like, share, and of course subscribe. Till next time, friends.